I was witnessing for that to unravel. So much so that when you're up 14 and you're thinking, all right, this game is wrapped up, and then you still have the ball with 40 seconds left to go, and it's even uglier, not moving it at all. That was really, what a gift. What a gift that was for Caleb Williams, who now gets to say he's got a signature victory coming back against your Giants.
Yeah, Ben Johnson was on the sidelines. He was so checked out and done.
Oh.
He wasn't even looking at his call sheet anymore. He put his head down. He was out of it. And to see Ben Johnson in the locker room, reading his notes and giving out game balls. Are you kidding me? That team was dominated for 3.5 quarters, and then Ben Johnson's waving at everybody in the locker room. Everyone's jumping up and down like they won the NFC Championship game. Look, there's 2 teams this year that are winning in the most bizarre way I've ever seen. This could be all time for the Denver Broncos. Every Bronco game's 18-15 or 17-14. Bo Nix sucks for 3 quarters, and then some team gives him the game, and they win. And the Chicago Bears. Maybe we'll see the Denver Broncos and the Chicago Bears in the Super Bowl, because that's the theme of this conversation this morning, Sam. And welcome in, everybody. Sam and JT, please like and share. Please like and share as I'm having my coffee in the backyard today. This is the most. Everybody says the most. It's one of the more wide open years I've ever seen in the NFL. Period. Because the
AFC, can we look? I mean, first of all, why don't we do this? Why don't we shore this down to just the AFC? I know we want to talk about the Bears, but when you talk about wide open, can we really picture an AFC championship with the Colts and the Patriots right now? Because that's what this league is looking like. The AFC, based on what happened yesterday in Miami, the AFC looks wide open, although I will still tell you I believe in the things that I've seen the last 5 years as opposed to what we're seeing in Germany and what we saw with what New England did to Tampa yesterday. But can you see a scenario where this AFC right now runs through the Broncos, the Patriots, and the Colts? Do you believe that?
It's starting to look that way because I was so in on my Super Bowl pick, the Buffalo Bills, over the Green Bay Packers. Packers play tonight against your Eagles. But yesterday was the wake-up call for me on the Bills, and the Bills being in big trouble. I had buddies who were at the game who were sitting in the end zone. They were in the north end zone, and they were Bills fans, and they were watching Josh Allen. And they said that none of the receivers got any separation the whole game. Josh Allen, even when he extended the pocket, remember when Mahomes extends the pocket, everybody gets open.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Everybody just takes off and gets open. Bills can't even do that. Bills didn't make a big trade at the trade deadline. Bills don't have a lot of star players to begin with other than Allen and Cook. They could have used Jacoby Myers, who went to Jacksonville. They could have used someone who was available to come there. They don't have a George Pickens. They don't have a player that can come in like a DK Metcalf and really be that X factor. And when I turned off that game, Bills have lost 3 of their last 5. They're 2-3 in their last 5 games. The Patriots now have a cushion, not only a lead, but a cushion over them, and for the Patriots to go into Tampa and win the way they did with their defense, and Drake May having a really solid game, but their defense was a really big warning sign to everybody in Orchard Park, New York.
I couldn't believe, I kept expecting, all right, here come the Bills, and then on their 2 biggest plays of the game, they're fumbling the ball with Cook and Josh Allen. How is it? Not only are they allowing long, ridiculous plays to Waddle and Achane twice, but when they're about to make big plays of their own, they're throwing interceptions in the end zone. They're converting 4th downs and then fumbling the ball. That is the most bizarre game of this season. The most bizarre game. Now, of course, divisional game, you can pretty much take. Yeah, but look, divisional game, you can say largely anything goes. But Dolphins and Bills, considering the direction that those 2 franchises look like they're going in, that was the biggest swing game of the season. That game is the one that makes the least amount of sense to me. You could have said earlier on Atlanta, Carolina was a 30-0 win for Carolina against Atlanta when we thought that Penix was starting to come on. But considering the Bills have real Super Bowl aspirations, and Miami we know is a complete dumpster fire with what's going on with Tyreek Hill, whether he's healthy or not, and what's going on with Tua, that is the biggest juxtaposition in this league is what we saw in Miami, and the fact that Buffalo couldn't keep up. Look, Eagles lose to the Giants. You got the Packers lose to the Browns. There's a lot and the Panthers for that matter, at home. There's a lot that happens in this league that you don't expect, but nothing is what we saw with Miami. Just manhandling the Bills. That game wasn't close. That game was never close. That is the most impossible game to predict coming into Sunday and what we learned coming out of it. And that's why maybe the AFC was wide open. But guess what, JT? If you gave me a ticket right now that said Bills, Chiefs, Ravens to represent AFC in Super Bowl, I still take that versus the field. Will you challenge me on that? Ravens, Bills, yes. Chiefs. I'll take those three to be in the Super Bowl for the AFC against anyone else you want to throw at me.
Yeah, I'm going to still stay with the Bills because I don't move off my pick when I make my pick. I don't move off it. I don't do that. I don't change my mind before Thanksgiving. Excuse me, but you're right. One of those two teams or three teams, Baltimore is going to roll now. I don't know if you want to bring up Baltimore's schedule.
Yes, please.
But
please.
Baltimore is going to start rolling and the games that they have in front of them. And then I'll tell you this much, Sam, what the Chargers did to Pittsburgh last night in SoFi it's in your backyard, and I had friends who were there too. It wasn't 60-40, it was 70-30.
No, it's Heinz Field. It's Heinz Field. Yeah, it's Heinz Field.
And for Aaron Rodgers to look washed, he really was the reason for a safety. He threw an interception that gave the Chargers all the momentum that they needed. And the fact that they looked so bad, that opened up the door for the Ravens. The biggest winner yesterday with two teams, I think, in the AFC. The Ravens, because I think the schedules open up nicely for them. And then secondly, Houston beating Jacksonville, trailing 29-10. I'm fascinated, like Patriots 28-3 in the Super Bowl. When you're up 29-10, all you got to do is run it 3 times, punt. Run it 3 times, punt. Run it 3 times, punt. Don't take the air. Don't throw an incomplete pass. Do not go out of bounds. And the Jaguars melt down. So Houston, who for whatever reason we see in the playoffs every year, right? They're always in the wild card game.
Always there.
They got a reprieve. They would have been done for the year. Jacksonville would have been 6-3, not catching Indy, but close. And Indy, what they did in Berlin and have to get to overtime was spectacular. But back to the Dolphins win for Mike McDaniel to drive to the elbow room after the game. Did you see this? This was incredible. So the elbow room is the biggest bar in Fort Lauderdale. I went there in college for spring break in 1985 to date myself. It was such lunacy at the elbow room. I was drinking, I was guzzling 12-ounce beers. And I get this at the bar, putting the empty cup down, crossing the one road, like the PCH, the one road.
Yes.
Sprinting into the ocean, diving into the Atlantic Ocean, coming out soaking wet, running back to the bar, and my buddies would have a full 12-ouncer, and I'd guzzle it again. That's now the home of the Bills, and Mike McDaniel pulls up to it by himself and is just trolling them. That was un-effing real that he pulled that off. Bravo, Mike.
That's an elite move in a season where we thought 2 weeks ago maybe this is his last flight that he's taken with the Miami logo on the tail of that plane, right? I mean, it was getting that bad for Mike McDaniel, and yet he pulls this off. It's their signature win. It's their signature win in 2 seasons, and they do that to the Bills. You talk about the Ravens. Let's take a look here. The Ravens, as we know, what's coming up next for the Ravens, there are opportunities all over this schedule, and I said it at 1-5. JT, at 1-5, I said this is the team that's winning the AFC North. 1-5. I had Baltimore winning this division, and it was all predicated on one very simple thing. Is Lamar Jackson coming back? Well, guess what? Lamar Jackson is back, and now things are completely different for this team. That game was interesting against the Vikings, right? It got a little interesting there, but guess what? In the end, they held J.J. McCarthy in check, 2 interceptions, and that last drive by the Vikings was pathetic. The Ravens were all over them. When the game was on the line at the end there was nothing Minnesota could do. Look at Justin Jefferson's line for the day. They absolutely had him nailed in. And in fact, ironically, Naylor's the guy that they let go, but not Justin Jefferson. Couldn't beat you. And they had that now. Now you're looking Browns, Jets, Burrowless Bengals in the next 3 games for these Ravens. And what you saw out of the Steelers, you then got the Steelers, Bengals, and then it's at Patriots week 16, which now looks like a major game on the schedule. But other than that, that schedule is beautifully set up. And look at the teams in their division. Nobody believes in Dylan Gabriel and the Browns right now. The Bengals, maybe they get Burrow back late, but no one's counting on that at the moment.
No.
And the Steelers and what we saw last night, and considering how the Steelers fell apart last season at the back half of the season, including, remember this, JT, the Steelers ended their season on 3 straight losses. They also lost 3 games. They lost 2 of those games were to the Ravens. Their season ended against the Ravens in that ugly wild card round. These Steelers don't really think deep down that they can beat the Ravens, and the Ravens are going to win that division. So you're absolutely right. They were the big winner. And one other thing I want to take a look at, can we at least discuss what happened? You mentioned it, Jacksonville and Houston. I can't believe that Davis Mills, you know Davis Mills, you remember Davis Mills, that's the guy that came back against the Jags. Liam Cohen and the Jaguars are trying to establish some swagger here. Trevor Lawrence is trying to help us all forget about last season when Mac Jones was the better Jaguars quarterback. But unfortunately, it's not happening. You have to close out that game. Your defense came to play, and then at the end of the game, completely unraveled. So much so that even on my +1.5 Jacksonville, which was looking good, even in the loss, you give up the final disgusting play by Lawrence with the ball coming out of his hands and being returned for a touchdown to walk off everybody. That was an inexcusable loss in the division that at this point, I can't figure out because Indy looks like they're steamrolling to the 1 seed at this point.
Yeah, a couple of things on that. First off, I spent a lot of time in the Jacksonville area. My in-laws live in St. Augustine, so I'm down there a lot. I have family down there. You wouldn't believe this when I'm about to tell you. You won't believe how many Jacksonville Jaguar fans don't want Trevor Lawrence. It's similar to Arizona and Kyler Murray, who we'll get to. Jacksonville's done with Trevor Lawrence. He got a contract 2 years before he was supposed to get a contract. They didn't have to give him a contract, but he's a number 1 pick. He's making so much money, and he is beyond average. I mean, a beyond average quarterback. There's maybe a little flair here or there. So that was costly to them. They missed the playoffs by 1 game. And remember, they beat my Raiders. They beat my Raiders on a 68-yard field goal and a missed 2-point block conversion for the Raiders. They would have lost in Vegas. They would have lost in Houston. They would have been done. But when we look at the AFC, the thing, if you can put that schedule back for 1 more second, that I'm going to disagree with you on.
That's good.
I'm going to disagree with you on the Ravens because I like the Ravens a lot. But what I'm going to disagree with, there's a Patriot game, and you forgot the Packer game. The Packer game is there,
for sure.
and that's a tough one. But the Steelers, our whole lifetime, our whole friendship, the Steelers have always split with Baltimore. Always.
Sure.
And now they have Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, so I don't think that the Ravens are going to walk all over the Steelers. There's 2 games there, home and on the road. The Jets and the Browns. But look, that Viking game that they just won, that's a tough place to play. And they beat the Vikings skull in their building and did it in impressive fashion. So after the Viking win, I think they beat the Browns, they beat the Jets, they beat the Bengals, they beat the Steelers at home, they beat at the Bengals again. That's 5 in a row before they have their gauntlet, which is Patriots at Packers at Steelers. I don't think they'll make the wild card. I think the wild card will be out of reach for them. They have to win the division. So just focus on Ravens and Steelers week by week. Whoever wins a game and picks up a game on someone. And it looks like the Steelers could start reeling. Real quick, Sam.
Yeah.
I did my Mad Dog Sports radio show last night. And, you prep for a show during the day. I'm watching all these games. I think it's going to be Bears, Giants, and the Niners, who we'll get to. The Steeler fans dominated the show like we used to do back in the day.
Love that.
These fans, good fans call when their teams win. Good fans. Great fans call when their teams lose. I put the phone number out last night to the Steeler fans. I got 6 or 7 calls coming out of SoFi from them. I got calls from the Yinzers in Pennsylvania, and they were so irate with Mike Tomlin. And I'm reminding him, I'm going, you could have had 19. Every other team would love 19 years of the consistency of Mike Tomlin, but the Steeler fans are like, no, JT, no. We're done with him. We're sick of 9-8. We want to win playoff games, and they're done. I'm telling you, Steeler fans to a man. pretty much all of them want out of the Mike Tomlin era and give someone else a chance.
Okay, that's fair, but you know what? You're going there with no losing seasons. It does not happen under Tomlin. And now you got a chance. It's whether or not you do win a playoff game. And I'll say this much, considering what the playoff field could be, could I see Pittsburgh beating Indy? Yes. Could I see Pittsburgh beating New England? Yes. Could I see Pittsburgh beating Denver? Yes. Can I see them beating Baltimore, Buffalo, or Kansas City? No, I cannot. That's what it comes down to. So Pittsburgh does have an opportunity here, and they could get in. But as we said, the wild card, look at the AFC West and look at the AFC East. You're starting to run out of slots. We know the Bills and Patriots are going to be there at this point in the end, and we know the Chargers, Broncos, and Chiefs are going to be there at the end. So what does that tell you? The Steelers or the Ravens, they need to win this division to get in, and that's what it's going to take, and that's how I see it. That's simply how I see it, JT. The other thing to look at here, we got to go to it, tonight's game. Tonight's game is a monster one. To even put a bow on this week is impossible without looking at the Packers and Eagles game in Green Bay tonight. And considering what happened to Green Bay last week against Carolina, and the Eagles are coming off a bye, the Eagles have had moments this season where you might question them, but otherwise they have found a way to win. And, look at what Howie Roseman is doing during the bye week to shore up that defense. No, he didn't go after C.J. Gardner-Johnson, but to get Jair Alexander and then to get Jalen Phillips from the Dolphins, this team is trying to do something special, is trying to go back-to-back. Of course, who wouldn't? But it looks like in the next two games, you're going to learn everything you want to know about the Eagles, because not only is this Packers game on Monday night, how about next Sunday night, Detroit at Philadelphia? So you're going to learn everything you need to about the Eagles these next 2 weeks.
Yeah, anybody who picks up the phone when Howie Roseman calls is just... just let it go to voicemail. Let the secretary pick up the phone and say, we're not in right now. We can't take the call. He's just a wizard when it comes to that. Just maybe the biggest story that no one's talking about in the NFL has been the drop-off of Saquon Barkley. And I don't think it's a big deal. It's kind of, to me, a load management thing. I think what they're doing is they grinded him into the grinder last year. He did everything. And this year, other teams are kind of game planning him and kind of stuff in the box, and A.J. Brown hasn't been a story. So Saquon's got to get going now. It's now November. There's outdoor cold weather games. This is where he's really going to take the Eagles to the next level again. Again, I'm on the Packers. I've liked the Packers all year. They got that tie on their record, which I have a weird feeling is going to come back to hurt them in seeding. They're going to get in, but the seeding is going to hurt them, because I think in that division, Minnesota's not going to make the playoffs with J.J. McCarthy. I think Detroit will get in. Green Bay will get in. So if you look at that division from top to bottom, it's going to get really interesting here in the next couple of weeks. I'm going to give the Packers the edge at home here with Jordan Love. And unless Saquon runs for like 130, 140 yards going up against Josh Jacobs, what kind of game are we going to see tonight? Is it going to be Jordan Love versus Jordan Love, a very good quarterback, against a great Super Bowl champion quarterback in Philadelphia and Hurts? Or is it going to be two running backs trying to run the ball and set up field position? It should be fun to see.
Here's what happens. You talk about Saquon Barkley and what isn't going down this season. It's Jonathan Taylor's season at this point. 2025 is about Jonathan Taylor as a running back. Last year was about Saquon, and the year before that was about Christian McCaffrey. That's okay. Derrick Henry a little bit last year as well. We got to give him his flowers. But Saquon Barkley certainly had his best game, JT, as you know, against your Giants 2 weeks ago. That's where he ripped one off, and we decided, there's the Saquon Barkley we all know and remember. It's okay, though, because the Eagles are finding ways with Jalen Hurts to get the ball down the field to Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. As soon as you start to hear the chirping, what happens? Now Jalen Hurts can throw the ball again. There he is for 3 touchdowns because he's throwing it to his elite tight end. And does he have 2 of the best receivers in the game? When you talk about receiving duos, maybe it's still Minnesota with Addison and Justin Jefferson, maybe. But at this point, you got to say it looks like Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. And if Jalen continues to take care of the ball, because Sirianni and Hurts made a deal 2 years ago. We will not lose the football. That's what it's about for them. So they are smart in situations. That's why you may not like it when Jalen runs 2 yards to the side and just kneels down, or when he throws the ball 10 yards out of bounds, but he's no longer forcing it anywhere. He refuses to do that. And that's what we're going to see tonight. And guess what? I'll tell you who has a hard-on for the Packers. Nick Sirianni wants to make a point tonight. They're pissed that the Packers represented the idea that the tush push was not going to be in this league anymore. Sirianni is going to use that wherever he can. And guess what? The Packers weren't able to stop it in the regular season to start the regular season on a Friday night in Brazil last year, and the Packers season ended in Philadelphia in the wild card round. So sure,
Ooh.
Packers might be really motivated for this game, but if the Packers show up the team that lost to Carolina, there's no shot. The Packers, for some reason at home, it has not been a juggernaut for them at home at all. They're going to be up for this game. There's no look ahead with this game, but I'll still say I don't even want to necessarily say prediction-wise that the Eagles and Packers. I'm going to say over the next 2 weeks, I think it's only fair to say the Eagles are going to win one of two of those games and not both. I don't think the Eagles are going to beat the Packers and the Lions. I think they beat one of those two, and tonight it starts.
I agree with you. Bang, bang, Niner gang. Bang, bang, Niner gang. That's a big loss in Santa Clara. They made the Niner fans sit in the sun. Well, Niner fans hate sitting in the sun. Oh, the wine and cheesers, they hate sitting in the sun in that bad stadium they built, and no architect realized that it bakes in the sun. And then to see Matthew Stafford, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. So the MVP as of today, as of this morning, is between Jonathan Taylor and Matthew Stafford. That's
Period.
1-1A.
Period.
And for the Rams to lose in Santa Clara in front of about 80% Niner fans, Rams lost at home in SoFi, to go up there and win that game was absolutely brilliant. And then
not really just winning, JT, not just winning. Dominating. We're talking 21-0 domination. And I said it, though. There's no way Mac Jones beats the Rams twice. They got him. They got him as a surprise on that Thursday nighter. I did not think there was any chance, and you could tell McVay was ready. And the Rams were playing from behind in that game at SoFi on Thursday night. And with the lead, this is what the Rams want to do with Kyren, with Puka, Devontae Adams, and maybe we'll see if Devontae's hurt a little bit. Could that be a little chink in the armor for the Rams? But so far, you're right. Stafford looks great. I'd give it to Jonathan Taylor. It's the most special season we're seeing. But Stafford right now is hands down the best quarterback in this league.
Breaking news. According to Frank Schwab, the Giants have fired Brian Daboll live during the Sammy JT the Brick live stream. So Brian Daboll deserves it. It was complete malpractice what he did. It was just awful the way he mismanaged the clock. I think they had a lot of injuries with the Giants. Here it is. Ian Rappaport. Wow. The Giants are firing Brian Daboll. Brian Daboll got fired. This is a very important point as we wrap this up because he has injuries, right? Guys are hurt.
For sure.
Guys are hurt. He got fired for one of my favorite topics, clock mismanagement. Say it with me. Clock mismanagement. Just like we see with Aaron Boone, who's not fired with the Yankees for bullpen mismanagement. So Dave Roberts got bailed out a lot of different ways. Kind of Falefa doesn't take a leadoff third, perfect relay throws, guys who are at the bottom of the lineup hitting home runs to tie a game, which they should have got their ass kicked. So he's good. But Brian Daboll just got fired because he couldn't handle the clock with the lead. When you have the lead, if you're down 30 points, no one cares about the clock. When you're up 20, when you're up 30, and you can't handle it, you prove to ownership that we cannot let you run the team anymore because you can't deal with the mismanagement of the clock and think that the team is not going to notice, Sam.
Here's what's amazing about this, by the way. I thought for sure when Daboll and Shane got the extension, I thought they were going to have this season no matter what. And then when they went to Dart, I said clearly they're going to allow them to take this thing as long as it can for this season at least. The idea that Dart comes out of that game, that's the whole Daboll's job happens, right? Daboll's job is in Dart's hands in that moment. He gets hit. He gets knocked out of the game. The ball comes loose. That's Daboll's job right there. No neighbors, no Scatterboo. They've discovered something in Dart. Russell Wilson comes in, can't do a thing in that game, and that was it. That look on Daboll's face, you knew it. He was watching it unravel right in front of his eyes, slip from his hands. Brian Daboll beat the Vikings in a playoff game with Daniel Jones. That's the moment you got to say it did happen. He was a special coach in this year. He proved a lot of people wrong, but over the last 2 seasons as a Giant fan, considering what happened in the Denver game and what happened yesterday in Chicago, sorry, that was too much.
All right, Sammy, this could be our last live stream while I'm in my 50s. Before I see you for the big event coming up.
Big
Hopefully we
birthday.
can get the machines. Hopefully we can get the machines up and running here pretty quick before that. And I'm excited for you. Tell everybody what you're doing on my stream and your stream with the Kings, what you're doing with your job in LA now. Big things happening for you.
Big JT, thanks to you and everybody out there. Yes, we're here at Thinking Out Loud, Siciliano and Sam. We're here at JT the Brick on YouTube. Thanks for liking and subscribing. I'm also right here, right now at ESPN LA, the home of the Lakers, the home of the Rams, the home of USC, and the home of your LA Kings right over my shoulder here. Sam Batesh, aka Samboni, JT, as they're calling me now around here, all right? Your Kings post-game, Kings Talk with Samboni, all right? Every single Kings game, you can hear me right here. ESPN LA, grab the app if you don't have it. JT, thank you for all of this. And I love it that I'm following in your footsteps, the silver and black. It looks good on both of us. And your 60th, by the way, what a major celebration that's going to be. I got Allie, by the way, thinking about it. Allie, if you want to come on the adventure with me, let's do it. But Vegas is happening for that one.
Well, Vegas is happening for sure. And thanks for coming into Backyard Brick, as we're going to be doing more expansive live streams from the backyard in the morning. I didn't have a Raider TV show this morning because they play Monday night against the Cowboys. It's the most expensive ticket, from what I'm hearing, in NFL regular season history. The Cowboys trying to buy every Raider ticket at all costs. They're still alive. The Raiders are not. Raiders are not alive. Believe me, the Raiders have fight in them. They have great fight in them. They will fight. They should have had at least 4 wins by now, maybe 5. Heartbreaker after heartbreaker. But Monday night, after this Monday night game tonight, next Monday, the Cowboys in Las Vegas. You think that's a 3-day weekend or what?
That's
Talk to you,
great.
Sammy. Thank you.
I love it. I love it, everybody. Thanks for listening.